Welcome back to more of Ask Lee Wednesday. Alright, so if you have any questions, and I hope you do because I seem to be reaching the end of the list that I have. It's getting pretty close anyway. Only got a few more weeks left. Then please ask any questions you would like me to answer on this Ask Lee segment. You can leave them in the comments below to the video. Or if you're listening on the podcast, you can leave a voice note on anchor.fm/Lee W. Johnson. Okay, so today's question or questions, I might do two here, is from LK and Yollie regarding the interactions with gods and goddesses. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Okay, so first question is from LK. What's the best way to ensure that a deity does actually want to work with you? For example, if you've done something that might have upset the spirit and you want to make a connection to ensure they still want to work with you, is there a technique you'd recommend? Many thanks. It's a pleasure. All right. So this is a relationship. It's a relationship with a deity, with a spirit, and in that sense we can look at this in terms of relationships with other people. And in this case, I would suggest looking at your relationships with some of your closest and dearest friends. So to begin with, if you are wanting to build a relationship with another person or with a deity or spirit, you are going to want to get to know them. So if it's a person who you want to build a relationship with, you first meet them, you have coffee with them, and you sit down, you talk, you get to know each other, and you also get to know your likes and dislikes, your habits, good habits and bad habits. You get to know things that make them excited, things that they don't even want to go near or touch. So it's the same thing with the deities and the spirits. You need to build a relationship, and in order to do that you need to know who they are and they need to know who you are. So in that building of a relationship there are various things you can do, which I'll get to just now. But coming on to your specific example, if you have upset a spirit, same thing again. If you take a very close or dear friend and you've done something to upset them, how do you repair that? You apologize. You may even bring them gifts, but when you bring them gifts, it has to be from a place of sincerity. You're not just, giving them flowers because, the act of giving somebody flowers immediately denotes that you are now forgiven. It needs to be from a place of sincerity. It needs to be apologetic. You need to do things to appease the person and to make sure they know that you are sincere in your apology. And you're not just saying things just because, you want it to be repaired. And it's the same thing here with the deities, with the spirits. If you have upset a spirit, you will apologize to them. You will then bring them gifts, and in this case it may be offerings. So you may want to set up an altar or even just a small space on a bookshelf or something that is dedicated purely to them and nothing else. And you light a candle every day and you talk to them and you apologize for what you've done and you ask for their forgiveness and you give them offerings, food, drink, anything that you feel they will like. And some stage they may tell you they don't like this or they do like that. And start building that relationship. Start opening the channels of communication again. And coming back to the beginning, if you are wanting to start to build a relationship with a deity, you've got to open the channels of communication, just like you would with any person. So this is the main thing, is giving offerings, speaking to them, and not demanding anything, just speaking to them. Get to know them first, and allow them to get to know you. It's not a one-way street. It's a relationship. It's got to be both ways. So they need to get to know you, and you need to get to know them. And at some point, they may decide that they don't want to work with you, or they do not want to forgive you. And in that instance, you're just going to have to accept it and move on. Not every spirit or deity is going to want to get to know you or want to work with you, just like not every person is going to want to get to know you, have a relationship with you. You may have a personality clash. So just bear that in mind, that just because you want to work with a spirit or a deity doesn't mean that they may want to work with you. And I think some people fall short here in that because a spirit isn't a physical person standing in front of them that they can interact with, therefore it doesn't necessarily have a face. It has a name, but it doesn't have a face. It doesn't have a physical body that you can touch, that you can feel, that you can use all of your senses on. That in some sense, maybe subconsciously, there's something in the back of the head or back of the mind that is saying that this is not actually real. And therefore, some people will try and force that relationship because, they don't consider it to actually be tangibly real. Therefore, they can do whatever they want to. So, they'll just call on a spirit, a particular deity, and say, I am now working with you and you are now working with me. There doesn't seem to be that choice in the matter. And in an instance like that, what often happens is the deity, the spirit, will just look at the person and say, bugger off, I don't want to know you, and will leave. And this leaves an opening. And that opening usually attracts an astral parasite. I've seen it before, where somebody tried to make a deal with a specific demon, and they kind of got into the space of the Hollywood stuff, of creating a pact with the demon, and after 10 years the demon can come and take their life, and all that Hollywood garbage that goes on out there. And the demon basically just thought, this is ridiculous, I will not do this with you. But they weren't listening. The person wasn't listening. So the communication didn't get across. And so the demon just cleared off. And this opened a door for an astral parasite who posed as that demon and came in and promised all these things. So, don't think that just because you want to work with a particular spirit means automatically that they want to work with you. As I said, it's a relationship. It's a two-way street. You both have to get to know each other, and you both have to, not have those personality clashes that can happen. And if it does happen that, they just don't want to know you, don't want to work with you, don't want to forgive you, you have to accept it. Alright, so those are the things you can do in that instance. You did ask, and you want to make a connection to ensure they will want to work with you. Is there a technique you'd recommend? So that really is it. Open the channels of communication. Get to know them, build a relationship. It's all about building a relationship. You can leave them offerings, and just a simple little thing like lighting a candle, putting in a glass of water, and just sitting down and just having a conversation, just talk. And this usually overlaps with the question, how do you communicate with spirits? How do you know when they're talking to you? All you need to do is just talk, have that communication, and then allow spaces to get a reply. And in the beginning, you may not get a reply. You usually do get a reply, but the problem is that we haven't trained ourselves to listen properly. So this can take some time. So just be patient, allow it to happen. And when you talk, you just talk. You tell the spirit about your day. You tell the spirit about your desires, what you would like your life to be, what you would like to become, how you would like to grow, or just, as I said, just talk about your day. If you had a shit day, tell the spirit about your day, just as you would do if you sat down with a good friend. And even there, you may want to share a glass of wine. So pour 2 glasses of wine, give one to the spirit, and sit down and have your wine with the spirit. Or it could be, I usually do it with hot chocolate. I'll share my hot chocolate with the spirit, and then I'll sit down and I'll talk to the spirit and drink my hot chocolate while the spirit drinks their hot chocolate. So you can really just take it in that approach of you are building a relationship with a person. It just so happens that this person is not a physical body that is sitting opposite you, but it is as real as that physical body. Okay, so let's get on to the next question, which was from Yollie T. Is it important for the gods and goddesses that you work with is from the same grouping, example Hecate and Pan, or can you work with a combination of Greek and Egyptian gods and goddesses, for example? All right, this can get tricky because there is no hard and fast rule here. It can be done. You can work with spirits from different pantheons. But again, coming back to the previous question, you need to build those relationships first. So you need to build a relationship with each and every spirit that you would like to bring into your space. Then when you've built those relationships individually, you then start introducing them to each other. Again, coming back to dealing with physical people, you could do the same thing. You have say 5 friends who don't know each other, but you build a relationship with these 5 friends, and then one day you have a party and you invite all 5 friends. So they are now all in the same space. You can now see how they interact with each other, if they get along. If 1 or 2 of them kind of clash and they don't like each other, that's going to happen. And it's the same thing here. So you build these individual relationships with the spirits, the deities that you want to work with, and provided they want to work with you, you then start introducing them to each other. And it'll probably happen that they've already met each other, and they will either like each other or they won't like each other. If they haven't met each other, then it's the first introduction, and you'll find out if they like each other or not. So it really is a case of building the relationships, and this then becomes a situation where you're not just building a relationship between you and a spirit, you are also then starting to build a relationship between the spirits and yourself. And in that instance, again, you might find that 1 or 2 of them do not get along. Therefore, when you are doing a working, you do not use those spirits together. There's going to be a clash, there's going to be a huge difficulty with the energy flow that you actually need in order to do a working. And it's going to be a huge interruption, and you're not going to be able to actually accomplish what you need to accomplish. So again, it's all about building relationships, and there really are deities that do not get along, and the problem here you know, when we look at things like eclectic witchcraft or any eclectic practice, again, I feel it's coming back to this idea of, because it's not a physical body, it's somewhere in the back of the head, there's this thing of it's not real. And therefore we can just take this god and we can take this goddess and we can take this mythical being and this thing over here and just put them all together. They'll get along because they're not actually real. They're just things that we interact with. But when you actually start working with them, you start feeling their energy, then you start to realize how real they actually are. And you know, and here's another thing, if you do find that you have a group of deities that you bring together and they all get along, there are still situations and particular workings you may be doing where the energy of two different spirits will clash. Even though they get along and they are friendly towards one another, their particular energies in a particular working may not combine properly to accomplish the task that you need. So you're also going to have to bear that in mind. So there's a few things you have to consider here, and remember that you're working with energy. You can take two currents and put them together and they work fantastically, and then you bring in another current and you add that and it blows the whole thing apart. So, you know, just remember it's about energy and it's about building relationships. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it today. I wanted to bring those two questions together because they did relate quite a lot. And yeah, so that's it for Ask Lee. And as I said, if you do have any questions, leave them in the comments to the video or leave a voice note on anchor.fm and I will add them to the list. Okay, so have a fantastic weekend and I'll see you next week. Cheers for now. Bye bye.